guys, it's Carl. We're kicking off the new year 2023 with a desk setup vid, as I typically do every year. This year is slightly different, as this will probably be the last year we're sitting here in the studio, as if you're not following along, currently building a new house around 1/3 the way through. So this time next year, we should technically be in a new spot. So I've actually partnered with Best Buy on this. All of the stuff that you see in this video, you can grab from them, and keep an eye out for their top deal section. It kind of switches every week, so you can pick up tech for a sweet deal, and actually some of the tech that we're reviewing today will be part of that deal section. So just keep your eye listed on the description. Everything that I mentioned will be there. And we'll start things off with maybe the only thing that you can't grab from there, which is the actual desk. And I'll give you my options on different price categories, because the one that I have behind me is technically a dining table from a company called Rove Concepts. They've provided furniture for the channel for years now. It's technically just a bit too large for a desk, but it works here in the studio space. I know that it's on the pricier end, and if you want to have different options, definitely IKEA is the best bang for your buck. The typical YouTuber hack is the two IKEA Alex drawers with actually their kitchen countertops. I've had that hack for years. It actually lives over off camera this way for different parts of my desk setup. So definitely recommended. That's the best bang for your buck, and you can go all the way to Rove Concepts. If you're a bit more baller, the finish is nicer, they've held up well, but just slightly too large for most desks, I would say. So to the actual tech itself, so you can kind of see behind me, I'm going for a laptop slash monitor combo. That needs no introduction. I'm rocking the Pro Display XDR from Apple. I've had that for a couple years now. It was definitely overkill when I bought it. I still agree on that, and we have so many great monitors out, but just because it has that Apple tax, just because of the beautiful build, it's just on a bit of a different level in terms of industrial design. You have that iconic honeycomb pattern on the back. Unfortunately, it is blocked because I do have a wall behind it, but I think it would be a great centerpiece. It only sadly has the one Thunderbolt 3 port, which travels to my 16-inch MacBook Pro, which has kind of seen more studio use because I'm actually traveling more with my MacBook Air. If you saw my tech travel pack video, it's just easier to travel with. It's a smaller form factor. It has the M2 chip, which still is kind of underneath the M1 Max, I would say, but still more than enough for the YouTube videos and the Instagram content, TikTok stuff that I create here. So my M1 Max, I think we all thought we would see a refresh of the 16 and 14-inch MacBook Pros at the end of last year in 2022. So expect those to come probably still in the fall. Maybe we might see something from Apple in springtime for a brand new update, but that's currently the computer setup that I'm rocking. Like I said, I think that the Pro Display XDR is nice. Is it justified for that extremely high price? Most probably not. I know that it gets 1000 nits brightness, 1600 nits at peak brightness. It's still capped sadly at 60 hertz. So if you're looking for anything quicker, a gaming monitor, anything over 120 frames, you'll have to look elsewhere. So I do swap that out actually with ones that I test, and the current one that's on deck is this one. It's the LG UltraGear. So this is the 32GQ850, specifically meant for gaming, as it's part of their UltraGear lineup. So if you are rocking a PC setup, this is probably one that I would recommend, as it doesn't break the bank too much. You've still got a great response time with 240 hertz at 2560 by 1440. The only thing that it's missing out on is that USB-C port on the back. So if you want that one plug and play option with, say, your MacBook, or you are Team Apple to keep down the cable management, that's just something to keep an eye on. But nevertheless, a great gaming monitor, especially for the price. And if you are on a PC setup, definitely look towards this one, as you aren't breaking the bank. So those are the two monitor options, both 32 inches. I find that having one monitor is a bit easier than having the dual monitor setup, even though it can get a bit baller with double setups. But I do prefer a one large one. 32 inches is, I would say, the perfect size for getting work done, for being productive, and obviously watching content and playing games. So off to the side of my computer, which you see over on this way, so these are two studio monitors, technically great for monitoring audio. They are the Yamaha HS7s. Unfortunately, as I only have that one cable option with USB-C, you technically need an audio interface to run these. So I am cheating slightly. They are strictly aesthetic options. I am looking to replace them, and that one first option from the Best Buy top deal site, there are some tweeters that I'm eyeing. Those ones specifically specifically are currently from Pioneer, and I know that they have different sizing options, and I would have to build out some sort of speaker setup. So that's currently on my radar list, maybe one of my first upgrades coming to this year. But like I said, just a bit of a aesthetic option just because they're in white. I've had them forever, and I typically just sometimes wear headphones, but if I'm in the market, I will look to upgrade those this year in 2023. The peripherals for the computer, I like to keep things super minimal. So if I'm not typing out on my MacBook Pro and I have that closed in clamshell mode, I usually stick that off to the side and I'm just using the standard Logitech MX keys. Those are actually suited straight for Macs, and that's the same as the Logitech MX Master 3S mouse. If there would be any keyboard and mouse combo that I would swear by, it would probably be this. Once again, they're not breaking the bank. I think they're around $100 each, and the MX keys is nice and compact. It has nice travel. It gives you a great typing experience. And over on the Master 3S or the MX Master 3S, by far the most ergonomic mouse. If you're someone that still uses the Apple Magic Mouse, bless your soul, as your hand must be cramping up. This thing is the greatest ergonomics for your hand. If there was one accessory I would say to recommend, I've said this maybe for 3 to 4 years, as the MX Master has evolved. I've used it, I think, from Gen 2 all the way up to the 3S. I'm sure we'll see the Gen 4 come out this year. It is just the smoothest piece of kit on your hand. And if you use a computer for anywhere over an hour, stop using the trackpad. Get yourself over to a good old mouse. Your hand will thank you. For the actual computer itself, and one of the big reasons why I'm kind of stuck in the Apple ecosystem is just simply for the software that they offer. So obviously I edit most of my footage here on Final Cut. That's actually the big reason why I'm on Mac OS and why I'm sucked into things like iMessage, AirDrop. Obviously, Apple stuff costs a lot, but once you're sucked into their black hole, it is very, very tough to escape. So the biggest things that I'm using over on my computer are Final Cut Pro, weirdly enough, Notes, because you can use them across your iPhone, across your iPad, across obviously the MacBook. Apps like reminders, anything that is kind of stock Apple, they just work so well across all of their different devices. So I know once you're sucked in, it's tough to get out, and if you are on Team PC or use an Android, big props to you. We'll get to some of my smartphones in a second. The second most used piece of software I mentioned about that house build is actually a SketchUp, so definitely worth checking out. Completely free to use. I kind of YouTubed videos on how to learn it. Just a great little design tool. And the third one, now that we're entering a new year, it's obviously tax season, so check out TurboTax. Once again, it's a free piece of software to use. I know that you can buy a pro version, and that's actually the second item from the top deal section for Best Buy. So if you're trying to do your own taxes, you're trying to save a bit of money, something worth definitely checking out. And because I'm not rocking a dual monitor setup, technically my second screen is my iPad Pro. So this is the larger 12.9 inch. It's got the new M2 chip. It is sadly still a glorified second screen to watch football, to watch soccer. So typically when I'm editing, I have some sort of game, some sort of highlight playing off to the side. That is sadly the potential that I use my iPad for. I still think I'm way more productive, and most people would be on a dedicated OS like Mac OS. iPad OS is still limited. You still don't get Final Cut Pro as an example, and for something with an M2 chip, for something that cost over $1,500, you would expect that. So I'm interested to see what Apple does with the iPad line. I still think they need to make it a bit more versatile. Obviously, if you're a graphic designer, if you love to use the Apple Pencil, you'll probably disagree, but currently that's what I use for Sidecar and as my second screen. So definitely glorified, definitely overkill for the current setup, but that is what it is. In terms of the rest of the actual accessories, I'm kind of looking behind me. Like I said, I try to keep things minimal. This is the only organized point in my life, my workstation. If I were to show you what the rest of my studio looks like, I'll kind of take out my phone now quickly and show you something. You'll just see what organized chaos looks like. It is pretty much a shit show. So we can kind of talk about devices quickly. You can see that I'm rocking the 14 Pro Max. Obviously that's keeping part of the Apple ecosystem, but I also have my S22 Ultra. And what I love about Samsung devices, I guess that's not really what I love about them, but because they kind of go down in value, now that we're into 2023, the device has been out now for what, 8 months, they've definitely dropped down in price a lot. So that's actually another great device to grab on the Best Buy Top Deal site. You can snag them for a fraction of the price than what they originally came out on. I think they were around $1,200 or $1,100 depending where you live. Obviously now they're being way cheaper, and as we get to the S23 Ultra or the Galaxy S23 lineup, which should be announced sometime in February, now is a great time to pick one up on a bit of a deal. So those are the two smartphones. And in terms of the rest of the accessories, you can see that I've got little trays from Grovemade. A bunch of the stuff is actually from Grovemade itself, especially that little monitor riser, which I don't actually use to rise up my Pro Display XDR because that has a built-in lever. It actually just helps keep things a bit more organized and clean to see any of the cables. It does house the one piece of orange that I have in my setup. I actually got that from my good old boy Nick. My editor Nick grabbed me this little Singer Porsche, which I kind of keep on top of my monitor riser. It's dope. I typically switch out my desk accessories to little bits of Lego, to Funko Pops, to kind of whatever suits my mood for that type of week. So I think it's cool to have little pieces of tech and just maybe even little toys to keep your desk set up a bit funky and a bit more unique. Underneath that, I have a little Grovemade tray. In there, I keep just extra accessories. So I have things like extra SD cards. I keep my Apple Pencil. I keep my stationery. So once again, a Grovemade pen. It's essentially just a little tray to help keep things organized in one area so you just don't have little bits of stuff sitting around on the desk. And every time I come to the studio, I usually put my car keys and my studio keys in there just to keep things organized. So it's my controlled bit of chaos, like I said. I try to keep my desk a little bit organized, and that's a great way to do that. On the opposite side of the desk, you'll see two books that I usually interchange, a lot for aesthetic, but I actually took a lot of use out of the Local Project, which is a great architecture book. It's what I use for inspiration for my new house build, so I kind of flip through ideas when I've got some downtime. And my second hint of orange is just this Dieter Rams book, another great designer. Had to pick that book up once again just to keep up with my orange game. And kind of moving on from there, we kind of rise up to the two wall shelves. Once again, both from Grovemade, both in that natural wood finish to kind of tie in the theme. And there I just keep extra little desk bits and just obviously my Lego build. So if you haven't noticed, I am one of the biggest Lego fans. I typically buy Lego purchases with each big moment in my life. So when I actually moved to this studio, I built out this massive Starship Destroyer. When I picked up my 2018 Porsche GTS, I actually bought that little Lego Porsche build right there. I can't actually remember my AT-AT Walker, but I also have the larger version, the Ultimate Collector Series off to the side, which I built last year, and I'm sure when we move into the house, I will buy a new UCS collection, so I'm trying to figure out what to buy. Lego is my jam. I just love building out Lego. And beside my Lego, I just have my trifecta of lenses, which typically live on my desk. So I have the Holy Trinity of G Masters, 16-35, the 24-70 Gen 2, and the 70-200. I pretty much cover all of my focal ranges. You can tell that I'm Team Sony. We're recording right now with an A7S III. The second one is sitting off to the side here, which I'll probably grab all of the B-roll footage from this video with, so you kind of know which camera that I'm rocking. And other than that, that is probably all of the tech that is part of my desk setup. I obviously have my Xbox, which doesn't get any love. I wish my Pro Display XDR, you could hook up an Xbox Series S, but I just have some extra little orange bits. I love to collect controllers, and I do have this chair. This guy is a Herman Miller M-Body. Maybe the tech that I've invested into for the longest. I know that they're over $1,000, but I've had this since my first studio. We're talking about 7-8 years ago, and this chair has still held up the test of time. I'm bringing it into my new spot. It's been great. It's one of those things where if you're sitting in a chair just like, you know, if you're using a mouse for longer than 6 to 7 hours, you just want something good for your back. I did mention over the shoulder, we do have a Lego build, technically not part of my desk setup, but I just have extra little accessories. So I've got my AirPods Maxes. Those are in a orange colorware edition. So those are actually painted. They're not a skin, they're not a decal. They're painted by colorware. So I think those are dope. And I actually just have my Dyson V10 Detect Complete just to clean up all of the stuff underneath my desk. I try to keep this area clean. Obviously, Link is in the studio a lot, so he likes to bring his little muddy footprints in. So I keep things clean with my Dyson. Once again, it's orange, and that's actually the last Best Buy tech deal as part of this episode. So that's pretty much all of the tech, I would say, in my current desk setup. Curious what upgrades you guys have to recommend. Obviously, this vid is just made to give you some inspiration. And as we move into the new house, I think estimated completion is September 2023. So I will be moving my entire studio to that new place. So we will start fresh again. And yeah, if there's any upgrades, let me know down below in the comments. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this very first vid of the year. And here's to another solid one on socials. We'll catch the rest of you in one of my next vids. Peace!